executive session. We're now ready to continue with the public portion of meeting. Two things in the President's report. First of all, you'll note on your agendas that we tonight are accepting the resignation of Melissa Bridge, who has been with us at the high school for 17 years teaching English. She has made incalculable contributions to the high school, to our students, to our community, and we miss her. I know that we have a large contingent of our teachers here tonight, and they are always welcome here. We are in negotiations, just like any business. People who are on the same team find themselves on opposite sides of the table. And that is unfortunate, but that is the system we live with. Collective bargaining is a messy process, but it's better than most other processes. We have been negotiating in good faith both sides since last November. We negotiated in good faith both sides right through the summer. We anticipate a good faith settlement of this contract. Perhaps not in the time frame that we would wish, but we continue those efforts. As you know, we are at an impasse. That is, and our negotiator, our mediator, will be here in December. But there is no barrier to continuing meetings as we have right through last week. We anticipate doing so again. So, yeah, excuse me. That is the President's report. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. We'll start off by just congratulating a few groups. The marching band placed 6th at nationals recently, so it's a great showing. The sports soccer team won their sectional, I believe, for the 6th time in a row. So congratulations to those. On Sunday we had a first. The boys soccer team won the Group 1 state championship. Construction update. Forest and Linden Avenue School. We are continuing with the installation of the heating units. The univentilators have all been installed. There's just a couple connections there still to be done. By the end of this week, they should all be at full capacity. They're still working on the chiller components. Ridgewood Avenue, the units are in place and are operational. They're definitely working out some kinks as with the new systems. They're finding little problems here and there that we're working on with the contractor to make sure they're fixed as quick as possible. At Central School, we're looking to have several sets of inspections done this week. Hopefully, the final inspection will happen this Thursday. We're working on the parking lot, on a mounting curb, emergency vehicles, and our security planners, large planners, arrived earlier than we thought, about a few weeks early, and they were placed this weekend, along with a few trees in front of the playground were planted. So all three of those projects are moving along. We're pushing the contractors as best as we can to make sure they're done as quick as possible. Some of it is delays from supplies, some of it is working with PSMG, and some of it is just finding enough time during the day for the workers to get in there without disrupting the education process. Next up, we do have some updates about the high school. So I first want to call the middle school representative, Emmett Boucher. Is Emmett here? You can bring up your fellow counselors, officers. Emma is going to give us, and I only got your name, so you can introduce the other three and give us an update on those.
Good evening, Mr. Phillips and the members of the Glen Ridge Board of Education. My name is Emmett Bushiu. I am the president of the Middle School Student Council. Here with me tonight are my fellow elected officials. Hello.
name is Matthew Agazi, and I'm Vice President of the Middle School Student Council.
Hello, my name is Owen Crystal, and I am the Treasurer of Middle School Student Council.
Hello, everybody. My name is Joseph Morales, and I am the Secretary of the Middle School Student Council.
The middle school is off to a great start in 2019. Here are some of the highlights. This September, we had movie night where we watched Spider-Man Far From Home on a massive inflatable screen.
We held our annual glow dance that was attended by 60% of the entire middle school.
The Broadway Show Club went to a Sunday matinee of Wicked and is planning another trip in the future.
The middle school football team had an outstanding record of 7-3 this fall.
The Anime Club spent a wonderful day in Anime Con in New York City.
The History of Sports class visited the Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield, Massachusetts.
The second annual Middle School Read is approaching fast with the students seeing a performance of Anne Frank.
In addition, many middle school students are looking forward to the Red Carpet Awards, and both of our end of the school year trips have already been planned. Thank you all for supporting our initiatives.
And thank you, middle school students, for taking the time to come here tonight.
We have 4 representatives from the high school student council.
All right, so first off, we'd like to thank you for having us here tonight, and then we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. So I'm Tommy Pennington, I'm the Executive Vice President for the High School Student Council.
I'm Grace Pizzini, I'm the Executive Treasurer.
I'm Ryan O'Neill, I'm the Vice President of the sophomore class.
I'm Michael Cefali, and I am the President of the sophomore class.
So we're just going to go through some of the events that we have done this year. First was the club fair, which was a huge success. A lot of clubs saw higher numbers of membership and more people showing up to meetings.
Homecoming wasn't only a great night for all the students that came to the football game and to the dance afterwards. There was also a great fundraising opportunity for the student council where we raised over $1,000.
And then the pep rally, we already had our fall pep rally, and we have our winter and spring pep rallies planned. And we had our first pep rally before the homecoming game, and it's just a good way to get everyone ready, to get a good attendance at all the sports games, and have everyone support each other, which was also a program there.
Our primary student council events are the different school dances, and we have 3 of them so far. And recently we've seen an uptick in student attendance, and they're extremely popular among the student body. We think they're a very strong way to kind of bring everyone together and develop a good school community.
Also coming up, we have Iron Chef Pizza Night, which is where a bunch of pizzerias donate a bunch of pizzas, and we invite everybody to come try them, and then we vote on the best.
Yeah, so in the spring, we also are doing Spring Day once again this year, which previously student council brought back, I believe, last year. And we're also coupling that with Hallway Wars, where each grade gets a different hallway around this library and decorates it, kind of shows school spirit, and it's a competition for who can decorate the best hallway. That's just a great show of school spirit across the board.
We're also planning some new events. For instance, we are looking to create a job fair similar to the club fair for students who are looking for summer jobs.
Yeah, so on the club fair this year, our club fair, this is the first year we did it. It was a student council event. It was extremely successful, and we saw, like, for student council, for example, we had, I think, 80 people sign up for interest in student council, and then a lot of those interests actually came through, and I think, like, began attending meetings. So we had a big uptick in club membership, and clubs, like, throughout the school saw that.
We're also looking to expand the number of dances that we do. It has been, I think, 3 years now since we had our last Halloween dance, and we're looking to bring that back for next year.
then lastly, we're also hoping to have a speaker for drinking and driving, and ideally also bring back the mock car crash, because I don't think anyone in high school has currently seen it, because the last time they did it was before the current senior class entered the high school. And we think it's a great learning experience for the different students, as well as also just a great event.
I know that there's a New Jersey Association of Student Councils. Do you belong to that?
We do not.
Other questions?
That's to update our staff diversity numbers, so I'm going to present our numbers to you. This is the number of certified staff members in the district. We've been pretty consistent in the low 90s for several years now. And you see the difference from 1999 to the year 2000. Those are numbers that we would like to make sure that we're addressing, so we have a better representation of our staff and a closer representation to our student population. Our student population we're seeing is about 25% diversity compared to what we're seeing with our teacher population. One of the issues that we have is just the number of applicants out there, and these are the state numbers. 84% of the state certified teachers are white, so we're only looking at 16% of our potential candidates or teachers who are certified with a diverse background. I've attended several workshops this year. A couple of them, Tanisha Davis, who works for the DOE, presented on the topic, and this is something that's relevant to them. And they're working on different methods to try to change these numbers. And I think as we're getting more diverse certified staff numbers throughout the state, we're seeing an increase in our applicant pool and then hopefully a change in our staffing. As far as our non-certified staff, we've seen definitely an uptake in more diverse non-certified staff. The non-certified staff would include secretaries, paraprofessionals, custodians, maintenance members. We've definitely seen a change in the last several years of our staff, of our non-certified staff members. And this is outlines, this is from at the DOE actually. Just outlines why it's so important that we have a diverse working force. It's important that students have role models, but it's also important that we have create a greater understanding of differences and develop a variety of instructional techniques that's benefit to all students. So this is a list of important concepts. And this will be available on the webpage if you want to look at this more closely. What's been nice is that we've seen some success. A couple of years ago, this was brought to our attention by a group of parents, and we started looking at ways that we could improve our applicant pool, where we started reaching out to more colleges. We've started forming some partnerships, posting jobs on some college job boards. So using the same time period, we saw an increase, at least in the diversity of our candidate pool. Some of that might be a result of positions opening, but this is a positive sign for us. We've started to do some work on the staff level, bringing in an individual to talk about implicit bias and making our staff more aware of the diversity within our students and the importance of reaching out to all our students in various manners when we're instructing. We're seeing some progress, not enough. And one of the things that we're constantly looking to do is to find better ways to get a more diverse applicant pool. Recently, Betsy and I attended William Patterson University on diversifying the workforce. We have to attend one session where there's a group of human resource officers in a bunch of schools in Central Jersey who a few years ago started a consortium called SJ Pride, and their focus is on diversifying their staffs. So I've reached out to them, and it's a group that we're going to join. Hopefully use some of their experience, some of their strategies that have worked for their districts, and bring them back into our district. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're offering the best staff possible for our students, and our best staff would be a more diverse staff. I also want to include some upcoming events, just so everyone's aware of them. And lastly, I have our Director of Student Services, Jack DeWitt, presenting on school safety data.
You guys turn it.
No.
I think Andrew turned it off.
Is this locked?
There we go. Good evening. I'm here to do the presentation of our submission for the Student Safety Data System. Twice a year, each school district is required to report out on HIV, harassment, intimidation, or bullying, our investigations, our trainings, our programs, and also our violence and vandalism and some other incidents that may have occurred across the school year. This is for reporting period 2, which was the end of last school year, which was January of 2019 through June 30th of 2019. The first submission had occurred after, and this is the second submission that will be going, or that's actually been sent into the state already. The current system is a little bit different. This is the second time that we're using this. It's the SSDS. In previous years, the numbers were presented a little bit differently, so I'll go through that as I go through the slides. But the current system combines what was our previous, it was called EVERS, which is the Electronic Violence and Vandalism Reporting System, and it combines that and some of the other numbers together. So if you're looking from year to year, it will look a little bit different. So again, I'm presenting on the second part of last school year, which was January 1st through June 30th. The first part was already submitted, and I have some of the total numbers in there also. This is the data that was presented after the first part of the year. You'll notice that, right there it is. You'll notice that each building is represented along with an incident total. The incident total combines violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and also any confirmed HIV investigations. So the first column will have that, or the first row rather, column will have that for each building, and then a total at the bottom. What's included in here, and you'll notice there's several that have asterisks, there were incidents that may have occurred at the end of a submission period. If they've occurred at the end of December, which is what it happens, they were not able to go on the submission. Once it's presented to the state, the system is locked and you're not able to change that. And what the state requires us to do then is to document it, keep that data, but then present it in there. So I actually have those numbers presented in the right, or the additions presented in the right columns. For reporting period 2, which was January 1st through July 30th of the previous school year, each of the buildings, you'll notice the incident total is there. We had 0 incidents that had occurred at Forest, 0 that had occurred at Linden, 3 at Ridgewood, and 8 at Glenridge High School. And again, this combines the violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and confirmed hits. The incidents that may have occurred that were other incidents leading to removal, which is a suspension for at least a half a day, is not included in those numbers, and also are HIV alleged. So investigations that occurred but did not result in found to be an HIV are also represented up. So here is our totals for the school year. Across the district, we had a total of 21 incidents that had occurred, 5 that were considered under the area of violence, 2 for vandalism, 6 substance, 0 weapons, and a total of 8 if confirmed. And there were an additional 18 investigations that had occurred across that time, so for a total of 26 total investigations. There were 6 incidents that had led to removal. Again, that's a suspension of at least a half a day or more. The confirmed events that occurred across the year, we had 2 that had occurred at Ridgewood Avenue, and they were under the type of bullying would have been verbal. They were either considered intentional or unintentional, and the nature of the bullying is listed next to them. If we look at Glen Ridge High School, we had a total of 6. There was 4 areas that they occurred under, also being either considered intentional or unintentional by the anti-bullying specialist. And then the nature of the bullying is also listed there. For all of them, you'll notice that it says appropriate actions were taken. Because the numbers are small, we don't list what was actually happened, what the remediation was imposed, because it could recognize those students. We also report out the number of HIB training and programs. Trainings are what is something that occurs with the staff. So for the reporting period 1, these each represent the number of trainings that occurred in each of the buildings, and several that were district-wide, and then also programs that occur across the buildings. And again, period 2, which is what I'm reporting now, the number that occurred, you'll notice that they are a bit higher for trainings, and then our totals for the year. So across the district, we had 87 trainings that occurred across the 4 buildings and district-wide, and 75 programs that occurred for the students. This is just, I listed 1 training or program that occurred per building, and you'll notice that they're different. Each of the different programs and trainings actually that occur are building level, so they're tailored to the needs of the students. So, for example, Glen Ridge High School, they had done a screening discussion on the movie The Mask You Live In, which was something that was felt to be appropriate for 7 through 12, whereas something, the character ed assemblies that either occurred at Linden or at Forest would not be appropriate for the high school. So we have them actually tailored to the needs of each building. Here's the staff that is involved in the investigations. The one change that you'll notice on here for previous years, Linden Avenue School, the anti-bullying specialist is Lisa Jacobson. She's been in the district, but she's now been moved to Linden, and she's also the anti-bullying specialist for Central, because she's the case manager there. And the only other difference in there is Mr. Caravella is also the administrator in Central School, so he would be also involved in any possible investigations that occur. Finally, I know Mr. Phillips had presented this at the last meeting. We will also have to do the school self-assessment, which is the grades that each school gives themselves when they monitor. That was submitted after the last board meeting on the 28th. Once we receive those results, which generally comes at some point in we hope it's January, sometimes it's, last year it was April or May before it came in. And when that does, that'll also be presented at a board meeting. And along with this presentation, it is posted online on the anti-bullying webpage.
So the programs and trainings, are they mostly doing ones we do every year, or are there new additions?
There's new additions for in the buildings. The ones that I have listed up there are not the same ones that have happened, but yes, there's new ones that occur. The building administrators will pick those out. We do meet, all the building administrators, the anti-bullying specialists meet several times per year as a group, and we're talking about trends that are coming across the building. They'll also share if they have anything specific that they found helpful, and we'll talk about other trainings that they utilize to provide to the building.
investigations that found not to be HIV infections. Can you talk a little bit about what code of conduct and how that is dealt with? Because HIV is always a subset of code of conduct.
So, I'm sorry, I'm talking to the mic too. If something is not found to be HIV, it could be found under code of conduct. That does not change because it's found to be an HIV or not to be found an HIV does not change what the remediation is, whether it's counseling, whether it's a suspension, whatever it might be for the victim or the alleged aggressor. So they were still implemented, and it's based on what has occurred at the building administrator. And then it does go to Mr. Phillips, who will also take a look at those things.
Other questions? In a moment, we'll have questions from the audience as well. Okay. If there are no further questions from the board, thank you. Board members, we received, after last meeting, we discussed the rough draft of the board goals. We received them electronically from Steve, and I asked for your suggestions and comments. We've given them to me now, so I'm going to hand out the finished product. Your suggestions are relatively minor, so we did not have to circulate again. Please take a moment and just go over them one more time. Because we need to vote on them, and then we will post them on the website. And as you notice, this list of goals also includes action items for the schedules of the various fees. Has everybody had enough time to peruse these? Any additions, deletions? Then what we are going to do, since we are all in agreement, is for our next meeting, we will have a resolution to adopt these goals. They'll be posted on our website. They will also be action items will go on our standing committee agendas, finance curriculum, personnel policy, negotiations, and communications, so that we can go work on that. All right, that is closed. We are now at the first public comment period for questions and comments on agenda items only. For those of you who have not been to our meetings in a while, we adopted a protocol in September. If you have a question or comment, please go up to the lectern there, speak into the microphone, which is now on. Questions or comments are limited to 2 minutes. 2 minutes in the first public comment section. We have 2 minutes in the second public comment section. If you have something additional to say. David, would you please invite us to a time? Questions or comments? And please, when you advance to the microphone, give us your name and verify that you're either a Glenridge resident or an employee if you're not a Glenridge resident. Questions or comments?
Hi, Lauren Johnson. I live on the south end of Glenridge. Just looking at the student safety data that was just presented, I noticed that the high school had much higher incidents of PIV confirmed and other incidents compared to the other schools. But if you look at the trainings and programs that the high school had compared to the other schools, they're significantly less. I was wondering if there's something that could be done to even that out. And I understand the idea of, you start your programs young, so you hope that by the time they get to high school, your incidents, but that's clearly not happening. So I was wondering if, there's any plans to increase the program for the high school level.
That's a discussion.
Was that, and I should have said, if you have more than one question, please give them to us all once so we can ask them in the order that they've been asked.
No, I guess just I see the discrepancy in the number of cases reported at the high school compared to the younger schools, and the complete opposite of the number of programs offered at the younger schools compared to the high school that only had, had almost less than half of the other schools over the course of the 2018-19 school year.
That's a discussion I can have with the building principal about looking at additional programs with high school.
Okay, that's just, I don't know if that would just, there's such a discrepancy in the number of incidents that occur in the high school compared to the younger schools and the programs that they offer versus the high school.
Thank you.
Ravi Sawa, I'm a Glenridge resident. I have 3 areas of questions. The first is concerning the diversity goals, which, as we know, over the past couple of years, a lot of parents have really encouraged the board. It was added to your goals for last year, yet I see that the overall diversity in the staff has not increased. So I wonder, do you believe you fulfilled your goal for last year? How would you grade yourself? I also wonder, does the superintendent have any goals, in particular financial goals, tied to diversity in his own personal goals? The second question is, as people who've been here know, I've asked repeatedly about the heat in the schools, because I know that if you don't have a blower or a ventilator or whatever you want to call it, heat just drifts into classrooms. And we just heard that some still aren't connected. And I'll tell you, I was at a parent-teacher conference this week. It was 61 degrees in the classroom in Ridgewood. And the teacher told me that she had been told to open the door to let heat drift from the hallway, which is something you had said they were going to do. And it went from 59 degrees in the morning to 61 by the afternoon when I was there. I was horrified that my child had to try to learn in that environment, wearing coats. Lastly, Mr. DeWitt, could you explain to the group here the 4 required elements of HIV per the ABR law? Thank you.
Maybe we should take these in the order that they come in. The diversity goal, the board's diversity goal. The diversity goal is evergreen. Our personnel and policy goal that we just all agreed on and we will act on by board resolution next time says continue to support the superintendent's efforts to recruit new staff members who reflect the diversity of our community. I would say that it is a broad goal. This is a diversity, increasing diversity in our staff is a marathon, it is not a sprint. One of the encouraging signs is in our non-certified staff where we do have increased diversity. I think that one of our problems here is that we don't have a human resources department. Many of you in the audience who dealt with our human resources department know who they are. We don't have them. Other schools are more fortunate and have them. One of the aspects of Mr. Phillips' report was making contact with CJ, Central Jersey Pride. This is a consortium of districts, as he said, in Central, that started in Central Jersey, but is expanding its outreach. And they have a job fair every year. They also, I believe, have job postings on their website. They are a consortium mostly made up of human resource professionals from various school districts. We are applying for membership in that. We would be the second Essex County School District to do so, Milburn being the first. I think that for small districts like ours, the answer to addressing this problem over the long term is twofold. And a good answer is joining a consortium. There is strength in numbers, there is strength in partnerships, there is strength in using resources like human resource professionals that we don't have in-house. So I think that is an encouraging step. You also mentioned a little bit of training, so that we have increased the amount of training we provide to make our environment overall nurturing one, that's an evergreen goal as well. I have also heard the presentations that Mr. Phillips alluded to from Tanisha Davis of the Department of Education, and her opening remark is always that we don't have, that in New Jersey, we have a supply problem of teachers, and that includes the diversity issue. The department is trying to work on barriers to entry to the teaching profession, particularly for more diverse candidates, perhaps people who are the first in their generation to go to college or emerge from poverty. The barriers to the teaching profession right now are significant in terms of financial barriers, also aspects of the praxis test, which is the admission test for teaching. So the department is addressing that, working with the heads of the schools of education in New Jersey. NJEA, the teachers union at the state level, also has an initiative to diversify faculties. So I think in terms of what we are doing as a district, we're not there yet. We're making efforts, we're not there yet. I think when consortiums reaching out, making arrangements like we have now with William Patterson, with other teaching institutions, will serve us well in the long term. What grade would I give the board? I have no idea, since this is an ongoing goal. Maybe, given our challenges this year, it has been an extraordinarily challenging year for us, maybe a B minus, C plus. I hope we can improve that rate in the future. Are aspects of Mr. Phillips' compensation tied to measures of increasing diversity of staff? No, they are not. That would be hard to quantify, and that's not something we've discussed.
Just so you know, people who work in corporations, we often have our compensation tied to diversity, and it's very possible to do.
Excuse me. As far as school teaching, maybe you can address it.
As I mentioned earlier, we've had some issues in isolated areas at Ridgewood Avenue. We were informed of those. We contacted our contractor who has been very helpful in addressing them as soon as possible. That's part of the bumps and bruises we're facing as we're putting in a new system. A new system has not gone in where it's worked perfectly yet, and those are some of the growing pains of construction.
Thank you.
It's 61
Does
degrees.
anyone else have a question?
You forgot the elements of HIV.
This is, I'm sorry, elements of HIV. Jack, where is Mr. DeWitt?
Sure, an HIV has to
You
be,
should come up to the microphone so we can hear you.
an HIV, it has to have a substantial disruption to the school day. It has to be based on an actual or a perceived characteristic. It's something that is impacting a protected class. And it's something that should be reasonably understood that that person that's committing it would have known not to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, other questions or comments?
Did you want to go? This is a
Harris Graham, Kingsbury District. I know it's typical policy that we don't talk about specific teachers, but she's listed on here.
Let's speak a little more to the microphone, thank you.
We typically don't talk about specific teachers, but she's resigning and we listed her here. So I wanted to just do a special, there's a lot of teachers here, I'm only going to talk about one teacher, it doesn't mean I don't like a lot of them. But Ms. Bridge is retired, I think that's such a great loss for our school district. I think she's an excellent teacher. And when you mentioned all her years of service, I hope that when we bring someone in, that we bring someone in who might have some equal years of service that might be able to help mentor. And I don't want this also to come out the wrong way because we have lots of teachers here. But when we lose a lot of of teachers who have experience and we mentor the younger teachers, and we just go to younger teachers to try and maybe save some money because they're on a lower level of pay grade. I think we're losing a lot, especially in our special education program, of these teachers who have just years of experience. And while they're all here, I would think that we would try to retain all the teachers that are here, but put so many years in getting to know our kids. Just to also, we're going to lose Ms. Goss for over a year, and I'm very happy to read that it's for maternity leave, but when we only have one person in the whole district for a particular specialties, when we lose them for a whole year, it's really challenging because some of these students build bonds with these specialists, and the new specialists come in, and it just puts these students up. It's very challenging for some of these students. And just my last question would be about the HIV numbers. You had mentioned the HIVs that were. Can I finish?
Can you finish your sentence? Finish your sentence.
The HIVs, you said there were 18 that were not confirmed, and you were saying that some of them might be code of conducts. The numbers don't show how many of those 18 were actual code of conducts. So I'd be curious how many were code of conducts.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't have that.
No, I understand not required to report. I was just wondering if we
No, it's just like, I don't know why we have.
Thank you.
follow up with that.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, that being the case, we're going to continue with committee and liaison reports of the first meeting of. Yes. Okay, let's start with Teresa.
So Forest Avenue did have a meeting, and they, as usual, had so many wonderful things going on in schools. They are going to have a signage tree where they're collecting tickets to provide donations for students. They're reading the Welcome to Frog in their one school, one book initiative, which is also great because the kids are reading that book to they are deciding on discovery options and wanted to make sure that the children who are going to Central School also know that they may also be involved in those programs. So that was something that they wanted to mention. They had a parent night out program. They raised $1,000. They did their festival of jack-o'-lantern, which is always a wonderful hit. They collected 100 costumes in connection with Jersey Fairs. And further in the outreach, they're doing a program where the kids are collecting, the families, the school system are collecting goods and products, but the kids are writing notes to go with donations, which are really cool. And Trader Joe's are also providing contributions, so it's a wonderful opportunity for the kids to recognize it's important to give back. And the last thing is they're doing an hour of code. One of the dads is putting together a program for the kids. So it's just a
Ally?
I had the opportunity to attend the high school open school meeting last Friday in Philadelphia. Dr. Harris reported on a wide variety of things. I'll touch on a couple of them, thank you so much. She mentioned homework-free holidays this year for the high school and middle school. She talked about the Maybe presentation by Ralph Halliday. She mentioned there was the security presentation from Stonegate to the staff. Mentioning that that the boys soccer state finals was on Sunday. Congratulations again to all the soccer fans. High school drama performances for next weekend. It's a weekend. With those parents. projects this year. We're going to be focusing on those projects throughout the year. They'll be planning a Chipotle night in November and a Panera night in December to help raise funds for busing. She has job peer leadership, helping seventh graders. President Christian O'Neill talked about a lot of fundraising opportunities, including bar benefit class in January, poinsettia sale in early December. They're designing a new class T-shirt. They're exploring new window clings, since a lot of new cars don't take back magnets anymore. They'll be putting together the SAT prep class that they ran last year. It's such a great success. Hoping that we'll have it early before the March SAT for 2 Sundays. And they're also doing the food supply fundraiser again this year. That's it.
Thank you. I attended briefly the Ridgewood Avenue Women's School meeting to give my report, but could not stay for the rest of the meeting. I know that they discussed the outcome of the kitchen tour, which was a success despite the rainy day. I think they discussed teacher appreciation events and also other upcoming fundraising. Tracy, or no, I'm sorry, Paul.
Facilities and finance committee meeting, our meeting has not met.
Personnel and Policy Committee met last week on November 12th. We discussed the ongoing efforts to increase diversity amongst our staff in the district, as well as several personnel issues. That same night, Mr. Rose and I attended the Glenridge Education Foundation meeting, where they approved several mini grants, and I would like to encourage everyone who's interested in
Volunteers today?
No, I think they're fine.
So they can leave with shoes on their feet.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think they have
Let's
gone.
go out there and support each other.
Yes,
There you go.
yes.
And also, Grace has an upcoming meeting on November 21st, and I will be meeting with her.
Anything?
Lincoln Middle School had a meeting last Wednesday, but I was not able to attend, and I received an update that's next week.
Okay. Hey, Anthony, anything? Michael, way down at the end?
So the curriculum committee met tonight. We discussed the current year's review of the science curriculum. We also got a great update on various initiatives at the high school, including key classes over this year, courses that will be offered next year, and talk also about beginnings of plans for central high school.
Going on in your packet, you had minutes from the meeting of October 28th, 2019, executive session and regular session. Does anyone have any comments or changes to those minutes? I would just check the spelling of Laura Perez is on our list for substitutes. Any other changes, additions, etc.? Michael, may I have a motion to move the minutes?
Yeah, move everyone.
Second. Oh, is that what it is?
Yep.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Mr. Luigi? Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. DeLue?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Aubert? Dr. Yaros? Ms. Gibson?
Aye. Right, we have administrative items. Before we move the full roster of administrative items, David, could I have a motion to table 84?
Motion to table, say, 84.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
May I have a second? Second from Heather. I don't believe there's any reason to have a discussion, so when you're ready, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Mr. Luigi? Mr. Campbell? Mr. DeLue?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Aubert? Dr. Yaros? Ms. Gibson?
Aye. And now, Michael, would you move the administrative items exclusive of 84?
Yeah, I move A1 through 3.
Okay, have a second.
Second.
Second from David. Any discussion on, pretty much cut and dry. Any comment or discussion on the administrative items? Barbara, are you ready?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyalucci? Aye. Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. DeLuca?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Aye. Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Albert? Aye. Dr. Yamasino? Aye. Ms. Gibbs?
Okay, Tracy, would you move the personnel items?
Yes, I moved P1 to P11, and there are two additional items on the agenda for P1 and P2.
Okay, I have a second.
Second.
In keeping with our rules, personnel items are discussed in executive session. So if there is no further question or comment, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyalucci? Mr. Campbell?
Aye.
Mr. DeLuca?
Aye.
Ms. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Albert? Dr. Yamasino? Ms. Gibbs?
All right, Michael, would you move the curriculum item?
Yeah, we want to.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Second by Anthony. Any questions or comments on any of these field trips? Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyalucci? Mr. Campbell? Mr. DeLuca? Ms. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Albert? Dr. Yamasino? Ms. Gibbs?
Before we move to business items, I would like to draw your attention to B3, to which Tracy alluded in discussion of the Leverage Educational Foundation meeting. The foundation is donating $18,000 to the district for the services of N.A. Masweet, LLC literary consultant for grades K through 6. This is an extension of the consultancy that we've had that has worked well for us, so thank you to the foundation. And now, Paul, would you move the business
I'd
items?
like to move items P1, P7.
May I have a second? Second. Second from Tracy. Any discussion on any business items? Okay, any discussion? All right, that being the case, Barbara, would you call the roll?
Mr. Bonnet?
Aye.
Ms. Boyalucci? Mr. Campbell? Mr. DeLuca? Ms. Lang? Mr. Romano?
Aye.
Ms. St. Albert? Dr. Yamasino? Ms. Gibbs?
Aye. All right, we've come now to the second public comment period for questions or comments on agenda or other items. Does anyone apply? Does anyone have a question or comment? First, you share.
Is this all?
Afterwards, okay. Thank you.
You can go ahead.
No, you're on your feet already, so please go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Phillips, it's very disappointing when we're talking about heat to be told these things take time. The teacher is in there all day long, 61 degrees. My son is in there. Other students are in there. Could you go back and check on when there will be heat? I'll be happy to email you the room and let me know when there will be heat in there, because these things take time. Is not acceptable when it's November and it's 61 degrees in the classroom for learning. Would you be able to let me know? Okay. The other thing is, Mr. DeWitt, I've heard you say for at least 3 years now that HIV has to be quota protected class. And if you're referring to the common legal understanding of protected class, such as sexual orientation, race, gender, you and I both know that it's not just a protected class. You keep making it sound like a person has to be a member of a protected class to be a victim of HIV. The law specifically says, or other distinguishing characteristic, which of course the bullier has to be motivated by. And I don't know why you keep saying, or it has to be protected class. That misleads people. It can be anything so long as the bully was motivated by that distinguishing characteristic.
Thank you. Please.
Before you start this, Mayor, a little legal because unlike my children, I'm social stage right and I'm fairly emotional right now.
If you could lower the microphone just a little bit, just
stage fright and emotion. Okay. I'm here seeking a collaborative discussion with the district. And I know this forum is not set up for collaboration, the structure is not, so that's why I'm asking, like, please give thoughtful consideration to what I have to say. You have to respond right in the moment. I'm asking you to think about it and then talk to me. All right, the district is not supporting the Glenridge High School Drama Club and its students. I've been a parent of a drama club student since 2011, and at that time, the audience for the drama club productions was like more than pathetic. Students didn't come. No one came. And the extra credits system incentive was implemented actually by my daughter, and the change in student attendance was remarkable. It was remarkable, and these kids who don't have deep social ties in the school were appreciated for what they had to contribute, their skills, their talents. It was great after appreciating their classmates' talents in other areas, which is also great. Only a few weeks ago, I learned that the district would no longer allow extra credit to be awarded for show attendance. After multiple attempts to reach out with no response, I was told that this was because, quote, "We are prohibited from awarding extra credit to students in exchange for a transaction involving money." We're talking $5 here. So I challenged this lawyer, trust but verify. And after more than a week, I was told that there actually is no legal prohibition. That the administrators had made the decision. Please stop that. I would like to continue speaking.
If you could
No.
summarize.
I'm not going to summarize. I really would like to say I've never spoken before the board. I'm very emotional. And, be like the Oscars. Draw me off the stage. Okay? Of course, administrators are allowed to make decisions, policies. That's what they're here for, of course. But it was dismaying. I felt really misled. Policies are expected, but be upfront about it and open to feedback and collaboration. We were told to find our own incentives for students, although our suggestions were not warmly received. We parents were chilly.
Have to adhere to this protocol.
All right,
Do you
no
have
one's
is your
behind me.
statement-
Yes, number one.
I'm behind you. Excuse me. Is your statement in writing?
It is, but it's messy. Let me just give my statements here. The district should not allow its theatrical facilities to be used by organizations to stage a production on any dates that would conflict with the Glenridge High School Drama Club show. The district's first obligation should be to its students and programs. They're rehearsing right now and no one's going to come. Students should be incentivized to appreciate the arts created by fellow students. The point of a theatrical production is to perform before an audience. And by the way, the actual impact of extra credit is virtually immaterial. My son has done the calculations.
Ms. Fryer, we really need to finish up.
The show opens Friday night.
Thank you.
Please talk
And
to
if
me.
you can provide your statement in writing to us, I know that you want to dialogue with us, and we're happy to do that.
Okay,
So
and I apologize.
if you can send it to me.
Yeah. Do I have to sign this?
Other questions or comments?
Good evening. I'm Christopher Forrest, a middle school science teacher. This is my second year participating in the union leadership. I, along with Matt Panisi, was asked by Marilyn Savio and Alex Roberts to co-chair the negotiations team for the Glenridge Education Association. I came to this profession later in life than most teachers. I decided I wanted to be a science teacher because I was passionate about educating future leaders who will protect and save our planet. In my time here, I have seen many of these future leaders come through my classroom, and that gives me great hope for the future. Having a chemistry degree, I was fortunate to have several job offers. I chose Glenridge because I loved what I read about the community and its commitment to education. Upon interviewing with Dirk Phillips, our current superintendent and principal at that time, I knew instantly this is the leader I want to work for. This is the community I want to work in. One thing he asked me in my interview was, what have you been doing all this time? At that time, I was working 4 days a week as a waiter. Reflecting on that conversation today, I realized I was better paid 7 years ago than today as a teacher. I had better health care as a waiter, worked fewer hours as a waiter, and brought absolutely no work home. However, I eventually left and found my way here. I love teaching my students to think critically, ask questions, demand evidence, fight misinformation. I would like to think I'm making a greater contribution to society by educating the future leaders of this nation, this country, than serving meals in a restaurant. Sadly, my salary does not reflect this. When I teach my students about topics such as climate change, I teach them not to be short-sighted, but to instead think about the long-term impact of their actions. I am going to sum it up now. I ask the same thing of you when speaking of teacher salaries. As educators, we are making an investment in the future, and I hope this community sees the value in that. Thank you.
Hello, Marilyn Savio, Library Media Specialist at the high school for 21 years and Glenridge Education Association co-president. As of today, the teachers and staff of Glenridge Education Association have been with an expired contract for 140 days, and we continue to hope for a fair and reasonable settlement. We continue to hear how valued we are by the district. We are often compared to the best districts when speaking of our students' excellent test scores and performance. With this in mind, we find it reasonable to expect a settlement at or above the county average and equivalent to those comparable districts in the northeast part of the state. Having been in this district for more than 20 years now, I've seen the impact a long succession of unfortunate circumstances have had on my colleagues, and being that my husband is also a teacher in the district, I've certainly felt the impact many of these things have had on my own family. In 2008, there was an economic recession and we agreed to a pay freeze, which seemed like a reasonable request at the time, given what others in the community were experiencing. In good faith, we believed the pay we gave up would come back to us when times were good again. The economy has rebounded, but yet in 2 subsequent contract negotiations, we never received offers at the county average, and we're required to make major concessions to get the modest increases that we did receive. Adding to our frustration is the legislation passed in 2011, which requires us to make greater contributions to our health care, which for many veteran teachers has outpaced our modest raises each year. This means many are seeing less take-home pay today than they did 10 years ago. To make matters worse, the state has not paid into our pension fund for many years. We continue to make increased contributions, but to date, the state still has no progress in making our pension fund solvent. Now we also have to worry if we can rely on a pension we were promised when we began our careers. Despite all this, we continue to work hard, never ceasing to care about this community, and the reason we are all here, teaching the kids of Glen Ridge. Thanks to our continued dedication, the district remains highly ranked and our students continue to flourish. We are holding firm for the members who sacrificed already and continue to make this a superior district despite the growing adversities of the profession. And we are holding firm for the new and future members who we hope to attract and retain so the tradition of excellence can continue on for future generations of Glenridge families. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alice Roberts. I'm an employee of the district, and I also grew up here. I live here as well. In the last Board of Education meeting, data was presented. I am here to present some data and a few personal stories too. Our current guide has 17 steps for members like me. Like many members, I went back to school at night to earn my master's degree and then took more classes to earn 32 more credits. I wonder who would ever choose this noble career now, knowing now what I did not know back when I started. Because the rules have changed along the way, the expectations have grown 20-fold. Not just for securing impressive test scores, but protecting children from an armed intruder. These worries were not existent in the late 1990s when I started teaching. Once a teacher reaches the top of the guide at step 17, he or she may get a few $100s more each year, no money increase, or $1 as was the case between the 2011-2012 school years, after being frozen on step for an entire year. I can't think of many things in life that do not increase in cost from one year to the next. My children's GRAA, travel soccer costs, Chromebook insurance costs, high school activity fees, and my property tax hikes seem to outpace my salary increases. So like many others here, we supplement by taking other jobs, such as tutoring, just to make ends meet. In fact, as Marilyn said, someone at the top of the guide in 2018-2019 is earning about $7,000 less than they were 10 years ago when you factor in our premium sharing payments. Resulting from legislation in 2011, teachers and fire and policemen pay into health benefits, which cost me now about $12,000 a year. The BOE takes this premium sharing money from its employees and is allowed to spend it where it chooses to. In conclusion, I stand here wondering what is the future of public education. I know Glen Ridge residents value it, but I'm not sure that we teachers feel valued at all, especially as I stand here in front of you with no contract after a year's worth of negotiating. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt Canisi, and I teach English here at the high school. I'm also a graduate of these schools. I call this town my home for most of my life. I've worked here for about 10 years, and I'd like to spend the rest of my career here, but with each passing year, it gets harder and harder to imagine staying here. I love this place, I love my colleagues, I love these kids, but I'm overworked, undersupported, and underpaid. The morale in this district has been on a steady decline for the entirety of the time that I've worked here. The number of teachers with extra teaching assignments to compensate for chronic understaffing dwarfs that of any other district I can find in the entire state. The payment for those extra assignments lags far behind the other districts and has been frozen for over a decade now. Coupled with the addition of AP classes that has led to the stagnation and gradual dismantling of the elective classes offered at the high school, I currently teach 3 honors classes, 2 AP, 1 CP English course. Even if I wanted to create an elective, to pursue that would be to endanger someone else I work with by putting more on their plate. The CP program here is suffering for that. Morale is low. This district has been kept together by the fact that these people who are here tonight and the rest of my colleagues are unwilling to let it fail. That is not an option. That's why it's kept afloat. That's why we succeed, that and our students and our combined passion. The reason I love to work with these people is because this is a noble profession, and I think they're the best of the best. But in a field so unfairly maligned, poorly paid, and weakly represented, I worry about the future. We know that there is a coming teacher shortage. We know that we need to hire the best teachers to maintain this excellence. How can we maintain the tradition of excellence with anything less than an exemplary contract and renewed commitment to making it a better school system by making it a better place to work? I'll tell you this, one of the keys to your success as a teacher is your understanding that people work their best when they feel safe and when they feel supported. That's just the truth. I never wanted to be here tonight to make this speech, but trust me when I say I am in the right place and I'm saying the right things because I care about these people. And we are at a moment where the Board of Education needs to reevaluate their approach to these negotiations and to their employees overall because we are worth it. We are not accepting a contract that hurts our members. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Shefali Kalra. I'm a parent whose son has been, or 2 boys, with the school district for about 15 years. And I know when these teachers are saying that they do all their best. Thank you so much. They have gone from the school and they are what you have created them. And they are awesome because of you. And to the board, please Don't let these. If you value your teachers, show that, not by words, but by action. They should not be here for more than a year without a contract. So thank you again, teachers.
Hi, I'm Beth Lowe. I'm a resident. I've had a student in the Glenridge school system since 2001. So that's 18 years. Yes, I did have to do the math. I had 1, then 2, then 3, then 2. Now I only have 1. But I never had a year where I didn't have a student in the district. I don't have anything brilliant to say, but when I was made aware that showing up might support our teachers, I had to say yes. Because our teachers are exceptional. You are appreciated. You are appreciated. My senior in college is still in touch with many of her teachers from the high school, and some of you know who you are. She reaches out, not just for academic help, but just for support and just to say hi and just to say, this is how I'm doing. Same with my son who's a freshman, my son in college, and I have a son who's a sophomore. And I see teachers here from Linden and Ridgewood, where my kids were, who are still also in touch with my kids. Where else can you get that? The grades are fine. I love it that our grades are great. But the things I remember is the teacher who helped my kid who jumped every time the intercom went off because it was a lockdown and he was terrified. The things I remember are the teacher that told my struggling math major, who's no longer a math major, to go on Khan Academy. She got through a course in college because of that. What teacher does that? Our teachers do that because they go way, way above and beyond. That was for a kid that wasn't even in the district anymore. So, again, I don't have anything brilliant to say except you guys have changed my family. You guys have helped shape my children, who are the most important thing to me, besides my husband. I love you too, man. But my children, I've entrusted them to you, and you have given me more than I ever could have imagined. Thank you, teachers. You are appreciated.
I also wanted to thank the teachers for everything that you have done for my 2 kids who are currently in 8th grade and 10th grade. They come home every day and they've learned a lot. They're telling me about their favorite. This has been a great place for us. And I just also want to shift gears because I felt like I wanted to piggyback on what Sherry started. I realized that there are 2 completely different drama productions going on by 2 organizations this weekend. And that makes it really hard for people whose time we're all pressed for time. And I really would like for my kids to be able to see both. And I don't know how to make that happen. And I know that there's other organizations in town that are always looking to see, when I've been on lots of committees, what's going on, when can we plan our event, when is that event going to happen, and we've been really careful to try and not step on people's toes. So I know where Sherry's coming from with her upset and making sure that the drama production is well attended. And for me having one kid who's the sporty kid who isn't involved in drama at all, who last year and the year before went to these productions, yes, there's the incentive of the 1 point extra credit, which, like Sherry said, really does not impact much in the course of a few semesters. But it was enough to get in there. And then he's like, wow, look at these kids. I never knew what they could do. I didn't know it existed. And then there's my 8th grader who is kind of on the verge of, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. I'm into chorus. Maybe I might want to, in high school, become part of the drama club. And for her to be able to go to that, but also support the gas lamp production this weekend, it's really hard to make those choices. So I'm asking if, in the future, just things like that can be taken into account, because it's really hard, and we all have a million things going on, but when there's 2 huge productions, these kids have been working really hard on them in both organizations, it's hard to pick and choose which one to go to. So, and please reconsider the incentive, because that 1 point gets those kids in there that might not otherwise have thought to go. Yeah.
No, please go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Charlie Breslin. I have 3 children in the Glen Ridge schools. As a parent, I also want to recognize and thank the teachers of Glen Ridge. There was a time when my family was about to leave Glen Ridge. We ended here very temporarily in a rental, looked around, and then realized this was our home, largely, if not all, for our friends, and especially Glen Ridge schools. I've also attended many BOE meetings over the past year, 2 years, and I think we're very fortunate to have a great BOE. So I'm looking at this as a resident and a parent with both sides of goodwill. And where I see it coming, and here's the tangential remark, is that really 40% of our budget is for healthcare. We're living in a world where if we wanted to increase the school budget, it goes to a vote. Unfortunately, in our bucolic bubble of Glen Ridge, we are not immune to Trenton or Washington. And while I, as a parent, I don't know the specifics of the Board of E's offer, I don't know the specifics of what the union has countered or the union's concern. But I do know one thing. What we are feeling is global. I hope we come to a good decision. But the real enemy or the real problem is in Trenton and Washington. And I feel it's not in Glen Ridge. But let's work a way to find a solution, and let's work a way that we don't end up killing each other or having any bad feelings across the board, because we still appreciate the teachers. I know our board does. And we all want the best outcome possible. Thank you.
I have a few topics that I tend to want to talk to about special education, but I'm really going to skip that tonight because I want to show support towards the teachers. I actually think that special education funds and teacher benefits are a bigger issue in combination, and we might not be doing enough for either group, but I fully support our teachers here. And I've been to many meetings with administrators, and I've mentioned that I felt that our teachers are stretched too thin and that we don't have enough consultants, learning consultants. And I'm always told that that's not true, and that our teachers are all very happy with where we're at, and no one thinks they're stretched too thin. And I look at you and I listen to what, and I know a bunch of you for many years. I've been here for 17 years. And I'm just gonna, when I go to my next meeting, which was wonderful, I'm going to mention what you all say, because you're telling them what they're telling me the opposite in these meetings. That you guys are stretched, and it hurts your morale, and we know you love the kids, but there needs to be some type of resolution in a lot of ways. And I'll talk about the special ed stuff that I would normally do tonight.